And we're live.
Yeah. What's good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all.
Audio is a rolling.
Alright.
Sync clap. Oh, wait, there was no video.
I'm rolling.
Oh, you were rolling?
Yeah, I started with the
bleh.
Vomiting Dracula.
Sync clap, man.
And we're live.
Yeah. What's good, people? It's your boy Icarus Gray.
And it's your homeboy Wordplay TJ.
And this is the No Rhyme or Reason podcast, where we talk about everything.
Everything for no reason at all.
Way back.
I feel like I'm in a tunnel. A bit.
What kind of tunnel?
Carpal tunnel?
Yo. Don't you wish that on me, Ricky Bobby?
I've been so quick-witted this week.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You've been on your quick draw.
Trinera will tell you. She'll tell you. It's been
Good luck with that, bruh.
It's been crazy.
Good luck with that, bruh.
What's up with you?
I'm a child because it's hilarious. That's what she said.
Yeah.
That's all I've been doing over here because that was a hilarious start to this amazing podcast that we do. Shout out to all of you new listeners. If this is your first time with us, make sure that you hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit that comment button. If you want to become a patron, become one of the underdogs. Am I going too fast? No. Become one of the underdogs. Join us on our Patreon. We have an entry point of $5.
$1.
Oh my
$1.
God. You have an entry point of $1. So for $1, you get extra overtime content, some more exclusives. I mean, you might be getting some exclusives from this upcoming album that I'm working on. We're going to be doing some things very soon. So behind the scenes of this album, it's going to be very epic, very monumental. I think you should get in on that. But yeah, join the underdog community for just $1. If you want to go, it goes all the way up to $50. If you want to be the ultimate underdog.
Cool.
So, yeah. Also, if you have any comments, make sure you hit nrorpodcast@gmail.com. We're also still looking for unwanted advice. Look, man, y'all know y'all need help.
Yeah.
Just send your unwanted advice. I mean, we're not psychiatrists or anything, but I promise you, we're going to give you our unwanted advice.
That's all we can promise. Right.
And, yeah. But let's start the show with a little...
We're not starting with Game of Thrones.
Oh. No.
It's audience survey, though.
Oh, yeah. We still down in the comments and down in the links. There is, or down in the description, there was a link to our audience survey. So that way we can service you, the viewer, way better.
Whoa.
And bleh. So we can
I
make,
come to
so we can make a better show for you. So go down, click the link, take our survey, so we can tailor this show to you, our audience.
Vomiting Dracula. The reason why we're not doing Gamer Bros first is because of the Super Bowl halftime show. We watched, of course, it's hip hop related, and so we wanted to comment on that first.
It's literally all I watched.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't watch the game.
Listen, guys,
didn't really care.
I was already, just as I turn my camera a little bit, I was already a little upset because my Titans should have been in the Super Bowl, but that's neither here nor there. And it was literally the only thing that was going to get me to watch. And I didn't even get to watch the halftime live, but I like how everything lives on YouTube immediately now. So it was like as quick as possible. But I also have like a Peacock or whatever streaming service, I think. So immediately on there, so I got to watch it, and it was interesting.
What? Huh?
It was
interesting.
It was very West Coast, and obviously,
right,
Mr. Obvious.
It was in California.
As I hit my teeth on my oh my god!
Did you try to eat the mic?
Whoa! I'm not. I almost said it, but whoa!
Okay.
I did not. Anyway,
it was in a state, in an arena.
There was football played.
There were people performing.
It was the day before Valentine's Day.
All right.
But yeah, as I good God, see the part when you get old, it's like random mustache hairs just are like
everywhere.
Let me disappear and reappear in the most inconvenient place while you're talking.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so it was Dr. Dre's Super Bowl where there were people who did not understand. Well, actually, I'll get there. I'll get back to the Dr. Dre thing. So Dr. Dre did the Super Bowl with basically the proteges and people's careers that he's either resurrected, started, or corrected.
There's only one person you could be talking
There's
about.
only one person that I could potentially be talking about.
What?
Listen, I'm going to say this on the front end. I'm not the biggest fan
Life support
of that person.
Okay.
At all.
But the dance moves, man.
Whoa. Let's not do that. This is...
Yo, if I ever meet her, in this video services.
Bruh. It's gonna be crazy.
Problems.
Listen, I don't think she's bad. I'm gonna say that. Mm-hmm. Just not one of my favorites. Old her.
I mean,
yeah.
I think we know.
But yeah,
the black community knows. The black delegates have weighed in, and therefore
the black delegates still remember the Burger King commercial,
right? So
yeah. So anyway, let's talk about our thoughts. What were your thoughts on the halftime show? Before I do that, so in the halftime show was Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, and 50 Cent.
Okay.
With a small appearance also from Anderson .Paak.
Yeah. So I think that it was the most watchable performance that I've ever seen. And I'm not really a big fan of the Super Bowl halftime show because of its watchability. It just seems like a little lip sync battle almost sometimes.
I can see that. I've never thought about it like that until this moment. But I also think that it's harder for us as rappers to make shows like that.
Yeah. So it's very interesting how I think the performance aspect gets minimized, and they tried their best to make sure that the performance was the center of the show.
Yeah, I can see that. The other aspects of it that I think are underrated were people not understanding. I don't know if a lot of newcomers got how pivotal Dr. Dre is.
Yeah.
Period. He is the West.
And when he sat down at the piano and started playing, that was a good moment. He played things that Scott Storch produced.
True.
Not the first song, but the second part on the keys. Scott Storch is the one that created that melody.
Yeah. But the first thing he played, I think it was "I Ain't Mad at You."
Mm-hmm.
To give his Pac shout out. A lot of people were expecting the hologram, but I mean, to understand what Dr. Dre meant to each of the careers is unfathomable in terms of like, so there are 5 people that appear. Like 4 of them are 100% millionaires because of Dre.
For sure.
You know, like I can't say that about Mary because I'm sure that Mary had her own money prior to the resurgence.
Yeah, so she started off with Puff and
Yeah.
all those other folks.
And then, you know, in her, I think the first one might have been the In This Dance So Re. Like, I think that song there was like her first Dre venture.
It was one of them. Yeah, it was on that album.
Oh, he did do that album. Okay, so that's what it was. So, like, bruh, it was crazy. And then there were also so many people who were surprised for whatever reason that 50 Cent was on the stage. And I'm like, what
Why
are
are
y'all
you
talking
surprised?
about? Like, do you not know? Like, 12 times platinum is 12 times platinum. And I get that streaming services are making that seem like not a feat. That basically means instead of just walking to your computer, picking up your phone, you had to go to a store and get these things. And like, that is monumentous for what 50 did. Plus 50 was just powerful. Like his first 2 albums, hate him or love him.
See what you did there.
Good luck with that, bruh.
Are just classics.
Yeah.
Like even if you, Curtis in and of itself is still a classic. Even if it's not, you know, people's favorite album out of the trio. And if more people, I think, are downplaying 50 because of his not having quote unquote musical longevity.
Yeah.
Because
and
he wasn't coming out with albums every year.
Yeah, but I think if 50 Cent wanted to like do what he did back in the past, he could easily do that.
He's still
But
easily
part
doing
of
it
that-
to do his shows.
Yeah, but part of that is that he's ventured off into television.
Yeah.
And for the most part, like everything that he does outside of television is on an independent basis.
Right. And I mean, it started with, like, once 50 got that vitamin water deal, deuces.
Right.
Didn't have to come back. But overall, the gripes I had with it outside of, like, I love the music. Obviously, I know all of it. This is stuff we grew up on. It's funny to see LA culture done by, or shout out to Arkansas native Fatima for doing the choreography for the event.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's done a lot of choreography is such a hard word to say for me.
Just get over it.
Throughout history, but the thing that I think was funny is to see LA culture choreographed in that way. And so, like, I would look at the dancers and the outfits and stuff and get that it is LA, but I felt it was, I mean, obviously, like you said, it's a show. So to see Compton characterized.
Is that why you're looking at the dancers?
That's what I looked at the dancers for. It's like, because I'm looking at Snoop hit a C-walk on national television, and then I'm looking at these dudes in what is obviously a prison outfit do their
It's prison swag.
version, and then I'm looking at Tomorrow Man, Future, whatever Sylvester Stallone, Wesley Snipes movie. I can't think of the name of it. Where like Taco Bell is like is like a fancy restaurant. Anyway,
I don't know.
Demolition Man. There we go.
What are you talking about?
Demolition Man. That's the movie. With Kendrick Lamar and all his blonde haired dancers. Like there was something about it that, I mean, obviously it felt.
I think that was a
like
playback to Real Slim Shady.
That would make sense.
It looks like an aesthetic, like
Maybe so. If it was that, then I'll give
it's like the opposite of the real Slim Shady almost, in a way.
I'll give it to that. If that was the nod that they were doing, then I'll give them that, because it's like, because everything ties back to Dre, and I forgot about Dre, blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. I'll give them credit for that. If that's the through line, yeah, but it still felt like, from all of the music from each of those people, especially outside of 50, because that's purely New York, and outside of Mary, because again that's also purely New York. And also Eminem, that's purely Detroit. So for Kendrick Lamar, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre, oh man, the realizations. Like, I wanted it to, and maybe it did to them, but like that Compton, LA, Long Beach feel, I wanted more of that. And I felt like, because it had to be a produced product for people to digest, and it's a Dre Easter egg
from white America to digest.
Yes, like, because we had to do that. That's the reason. Like, I think not so much that I had like a problem with it, because it's still an amazing show, but like there's parts of it that it ain't gonna like hit hard or
there's
hit
some
home.
there's some energy missing. There's some black energy missing.
Yes.
Okay.
Like, even though it was all in there, especially like, Kendrick Lamar doing All Right.
Yeah.
Like, of all the songs, like, he could have done Be Humble.
Mm-hmm.
He could have done.
But it was a protest in a way, right? Like,
yes. And so he chose the songs that I was like, oh, he went B-side. Like, a lot of folks were saying they didn't want B-sides, but I feel like certain songs, I mean, Good Kid, Mad City
was a single.
All Right was a single, but I think that Backseat Freestyle, or not Backseat Freestyle, is he in the Backseat Freestyle?
What?
Every time I'm in the streets, I hear, yeah.
Yeah, but he just did that.
God, it was.
He just did that part.
That I think that was the hypest part for me, because that song was my jam. But anyway, I've done all of that. I think I cut off your thoughts, and then we just started talking about.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on now.
Like, man, this podcast.
Yeah. So I'm working on a video that's going to be out by the time people hear this. Mm-hmm. That they should go watch on my channel, where I talk about why artists shouldn't get paid for the Super Bowl halftime show, and why they didn't get paid for this, and so people should go check that video out. I
almost wanted to ask you, but now I have to go watch the video.
Yeah, you got to go watch the video.
Hit like, comment, and subscribe. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
What time is it now? Yeah.
So yeah, off of the Super Bowl conversation, now to the fact that it is episode 151.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, and because of me also being a nerd, I want to talk about the original 151 Pokemon of Generation 1.
So I remember us kind of telling some of the information. Like, we disclosed that at my birthday celebration, you decided to recall all 151 Pokemon. First starting in order, but then eventually
just being like, forget it, I know them.
Just naming them all.
Yeah, and I was like, I just needed somebody. Like, I wish there would have been an easier way. Like, somebody needs to make an app where you can just say the name and it like, ding.
Yeah. So here's the thing about that. If that's one way to kill a vibe at a party, that's like the number one way to do it.
Listen, this is right before we start like playing, which was fun. It was funny is for you.
It wasn't really a party though. It was just
it was a kickback, but I mean that's what age we're at. We're at the age of kickbacks, but the pivotal point of that is that we did a lot of gaming stuff, which I think is fun and cool. And thinking about this number and this episode and how monumental it is, because that's like, we were already friends, but I do think that the release of Pokemon kind of shifted us into what we are today in a lot of different ways, in terms of gamers, in terms of the things that we like to play, in terms of what we were expecting, because it was a huge thing. I've spoken multiple times about how my favorite popular release of anything is how they brought out Pokemon, because they did it on three different fronts, in terms of the anime coming out at the same time, the game coming out, and it having the two versions, to where even whether you played the game or didn't, you knew what the conversation was. So your word of mouth conversation, in terms of like seeing Ash in places that you were going to go and were going in the game, was amazing, because you still had to wait, but you got like representation on all different fronts.
I think the biggest disappointment there was the fact that we didn't have a one-to-one connection with the game and
Yes.
the anime.
Yes.
Like once we started playing the game, we were like, "This is nothing like the anime."
Oh no, and but we would still try, and I still was like, well, maybe I got to do this.
Yeah.
Or maybe I got to do that.
And then when Yellow came out, we thought that there would be more of a connection, and the only connection was that Pikachu followed you around.
Yeah, and then you could. I think you could transfer information from the little walking Pikachu or something
Yeah.
with your with the Game Boy Color, with like the top of it, and like you could get like XP or something.
Yeah, you could transfer your steps into the thing.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And it could translate to something else. I can't remember. Exactly.
You know what's crazy is, like, for everything that we wanted in the beginning, we do know that Pokemon Legends gave us.
The feeling, yeah.
Yeah, like, and that's crazy to me.
So I wanna think about some things, right? So like maybe 2 or 3 questions. What was the most frustrating part about the series for you? And then we'll flip to
The
me.
anime?
No, the games.
The games.
And then what was the most exciting part about them?
The forest in the beginning and getting poisoned was frustrating. Trying to figure out, the puzzles, because even though I had the guide, I would still try to figure out the puzzles. And well, no, the most frustrating part would have been the amount of time we had to play. Because you had a set amount of time that you could play, because
Your batteries will run out.
not even your batteries would run out. It would just be too dark. And it would get too hard without light out. Even if you had the little... Because we had the Game Boy connection thing to where you could put the light in front of it with the magnifying glass so you could see better. But by a certain point, if you didn't figure out how to do something, you were done. Climbing up Lavender Tower, or the tower in Lavender Town was frustrating.
Just one.
Yeah, so that was the most frustrating.
Most
so I think
frustrating,
Lavender
and
Town
then-
was probably the most frustrating, because
and
that and not knowing. It was frustrating in the sense that it's like it was hard to figure out moves in terms of type advantages and everything else, because I think there weren't very many type specific moves.
Yeah. So what was the most exciting part?
Catching Articuno.
Really?
Oh yes, it was the most amazing thing to me. That and being able to catch Jigglypuff, because that was my favorite Pokemon for a long time.
I'm trying to figure out, for me, out of 3 things, what was the most frustrating. I was most frustrated trying to beat Sabrina.
Bruh.
because what is it? The Alakazam would recover.
No, she would use because I don't think
Was it
anybody had
Kadabra?
rest. But she kept. I feel like there was no cap on how many times they would use like full restores or something like that.
Something that like regardless, it was some health thing that she kept recharging, and then you had to find a way to knock out this typing that didn't have a type disadvantage at the time.
Yeah,
Or was it ghost types that was?
I think it was ghost types.
But then your only ghost type is weak to
Psychic. Yeah,
right.
I think no, they weren't weak to poison or something at the time. Fighting. No, I don't. Anyway, but no, I remember that
Because I brought it
frustrating
like
that was.
to the dojo. I took a psychic type to the dojo. I remember that.
Yeah, and also
And-
they're weak to flying.
I think the most exciting part was
Too many.
uh,
Oh, I just thought of another one.
I think going through and beating the game was pretty exciting. I tried really hard to get Mew, like really really hard, and crashed my game.
Ah,
And then, like, there's some irony here because we live pretty close to Nintendo America now, and so what I did is I shipped my game up here. It was like, fix this, and it never got back to me.
wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
If you're listening, Nintendo, make this right.
They'll never see this.
They never will.
Yeah,
But you never know. But they are also anyway. That's a whole nother conversation for off air. But so to get back to the actual game,
Sideline Joe.
man, listen, I there's so many connected conversations, but like this game really changed my life in a lot of different ways. I mean, I was already a gamer, but I think for diving into RPGs, this was my first real experience that I connected with. That I was like, oh no, I need games like this.
It was RPG, but not RPG. So RPG that it takes you out of it.
Well, it was RPG in the sense that you were able to disconnect as the character because your character didn't level up. I mean, they did.
Right. So you didn't have like what is the traditional four typing RPG where you have four sprites to navigate through.
Yeah.
Or to
Or four character team based, and then you had to like worry about healing and all this other stuff. You just had to catch what you wanted to catch, go out here and fight, get the badges. I mean, the badges unlock stuff, but it wasn't like leveling up. And it was all about your strategy.
They just made your Charizard less angry because it levels up the fastest.
Yo, that was another frustrating thing. Is they basically made it to where you could not.
I had an asshole Charizard.
You couldn't grind.
I had a really asshole Charizard. Like I was in the Elite Four, and like it's like Charizard refuses to battle. It's like no.
God, man. Speaking of, and I guess we can wrap it up with this because we could literally do a whole episode on this. Your first starter was?
It was Venusaur and then Charizard.
It was always Bulbasaur for me.
Bulbasaur, yeah.
I did not switch to the other guys because Bulbasaur was my favorite.
Yeah. But I eventually played with all three, and I would just reset my game.
Venusaur was definitely, or Bulbasaur, well, it doesn't matter. It's easy mode, at least for the first couple.
The last time I played, I'm gonna open up Pokemon Home really quick, but while I get that open, the other frustrations were like the was it the tunnel?
Cycling Hill.
No, the tunnel, not the cycling.
Oh,
Having to navigate it in the dark.
before you
actual
got
dark.
Flash.
Yeah, it's like why would you do that to me? And
Getting
then-
the Mewtwo or getting the Articuno in and of itself is you had to remember where all of the different whirlpools were, and like you had to find your. Like the puzzles were so like frustrating because everything looks the same.
Right, and you're not like there's no way to zoom out for it. What was my last?
For the most part, especially like when you look at how to solve the puzzle, like on the gaming books or the walkthrough books, like they could also be wrong. Like there was no, this is definitive. This is what you do.
I watched a video recently that talked about how Venonat hasn't appeared in like recent recent regional Pokédexes recently.
Wow.
Yeah, and you think about it, you're like, damn, no, it hasn't.
As soon as you said that, it literally popped up in my brain, and I was
Venonat's
like,
got shot on
when was the last time Internet was in a
like
game?
gold and silver.
Like, I mean, let's go.
But even
Pikachu,
then, you had to go somewhere else.
Ooh, it would have been Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. For sure. And that probably would have been it. Outside of like transferring them. Wow.
Was it in there?
Had to be. He's one of the original 151.
Okay. Maybe.
Man, if he's not, like, Mandela effect is aware. It's
It looks like it doesn't even exist
it
anymore.
Is there. But yeah, this game changed a lot for me, for like my trajectory and a lot of different things. And one of the other smaller frustrations, I guess, like I was telling you, that I love that I don't have to worry about in Legends Arceus is like I can kind of go everywhere. I can walk over very tall mountains. And the only, there's the world spacing where you can't go farther than, the part of the world that they have set up for you.
Why do I have 5 Snorlax? For what reason?
The same reason I think that I have, because of the mass outbreaks, I have 50 million like Teddy Ursas and stuff that I have to like release into the wild.
Oh no, I'm not talking about in that game. I just have them from the regular games. For why?
It's not. Oh my god, that is another frustration. Getting the Poke Flute and the SS Anne.
What about it?
Fighting all them people on the boat and having to walk into every room and you just trying to get items.
Oh, it's my Blastoise named Lucang. That's. I think that's where that's what I beat the last game on.
And I think we promised y'all a red and blue playthrough at some point. I mean, yeah.
We might be able to make it happen.
Whew.
Some screen capture or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
One of them days. We'll
Anyway, we've been on this too long.
It was a good thing.
We're 30 minutes in, and it's podcast starting to
15
suck.
to 15. So it's time to get into some self-help. And the self-help for today is taking constructive criticism. So
Depends on where it comes from.
yes, but that is a part of our help and advice for the people. The reason I wanted to do this is because next week, and our patrons may get some behind the scenes from this, or the current week. By the time you get this, the week will be done.
Stop promising them work for me.
No, this doesn't work for you. Well, yeah, it is.
Why do you do this?
This is my new
You did this like 2 episodes ago. You're like, he's got to go look this up and add this to the footage. I was like, God damn it. It's like, now I got to know the timestamp and blah, 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 blah.
But anyway, what I was gonna say is because we're gonna be working on my album this week, and in working on the album, I have to take a lot of constructive criticism from you, so it can be the best song that it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I think that I've like over the years, especially these past 5 years specifically, I've had to learn more about constructive criticism than I've ever had to learn. Because I also had to learn how you deliver the criticism because because you can be matter of fact. I will take things too literal when you're just saying it in like a sprinkle of salt way.
Yeah, I don't have much of a filter, I guess.
It's not so much a filter. Everything,
filter. I think
it's a grade. Like you don't have a scale. You don't have a scale in terms of like how you're delivering it. It's all the same.
yeah.
And so it's like there's no difference between like if you're telling somebody they need to make huge changes and if you're not telling somebody they need to make huge changes, the tone is the same. And so you're left to kind of,
if I say that's good, and if I say that's bad, it's delivered the same way.
it's the exact same way. And either you're like, okay, is this part bad or is the song bad? And it could be either. You could answer either way.
Yeah.
And then it's good. It's like, oh no, just that part. Like this part is bad.
Yeah,
But learning about constructive criticism as an artist is something that you have to understand it very early, because it can either be a hindrance to you or one of the greatest things you're ever going to have.
Yeah. I think my thing about it is I normally only want it from other like professionals or those that are like in the know, specifically with music. And the only reason why I kind of want it that way is because a lot of the constructive criticism that we get from the outside from people that aren't in the business or the space of creating music is normally subjective.
Yeah.
And there could be some technical parts of it, right? Somebody could be like, this is off key. But there's also some subjective parts about it. I don't like this because it's off key. Or like I could be purposefully gotta get my fidgets. I could be purposefully interested in having a certain tone on a record and want to keep that and want to make people feel uncomfortable in the listening, and because that is subjectively not favorable, I think that's a bother.
Yeah, because you might go to somebody and they say that doesn't have a lot of knowledge, say this makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like you should change that. And
Yes.
it's like, but that's what I was going for.
Yeah, so like early on in my career, I spent a lot of time not caring about commercialism, and on purpose didn't make songs that were commercially viable. And I knew this. So I would kind of step one foot into the commercial viability, but also stay like very away from it. Like I didn't want to. I basically wanted to make things that weren't the very lo-fi.
Yeah.
And now lo-fi is like one of the most popular things in the world.
Oh, yeah, you were on that wave. The other thing I guess I'll ask you in terms of constructive criticism, is that what led you to do Breakfast and Biggie, or was Breakfast and Biggie not something that you felt was commercial?
Breakfast and Biggie was commercial, but like it was my version of commercial. Right?
Okay.
Like, cause my brother, who made the instrumental, he's younger, and so therefore he's influenced by a lot of commercial things, and so he's making beats in that way. So I was just like, bro, I need something commercial right now.
But see, that's the thing that I think constructive criticism would have allowed you to kind of understand, especially about like artists, because we as artists, like, so for me, I'll speak for me specifically. It does not matter what beat you give me. I can write something for it. Whether I want to or not is a different story. But if you give me that and say, hey, and you've done this in a lot of ways, it's like, hey, you should try this. Hey, you should try this. I like this song. And I might listen to the beat because I'd be like, I don't really like that. But as I start building the song, as I start taking steps outside of myself to kind of see from the outside looking in, I'm able to kind of grow. And the biggest thing about constructive criticism is learning who to take it from, as you were saying, and what to do with it. Because as an artist, you need to stay very grounded in who you are first. Because what you do not want to do with constructive criticism is allow it to basically shift everything.
I think people need to first learn how to give it.
Oh, yeah, good point.
And as dry and monotone as my criticism is, I think I do have the tools to know how to give it based off of my previous leadership experience. And it comes with a bit of like kind of sandwiching, right? Like people need to know what they're doing well. They need to know, they need to be praised for that. And then people need to know where they can correct some other parts, right? And why it's important to correct those parts, and not just, oh, you did this wrong, right? There should never be it never should be that direct. And it's not for the sake of like sugarcoating anything or for doing that, but like you don't want to purposely put people on the defensive.
No, I was gonna say that the pivotal thing about your criticism, and the thing that I think is pivotal to criticism, your explanation. You cannot just say to somebody you don't like something. If you can't explain why, then normally that means you should not be giving criticism.
Yeah, and I think also there's a difference between subjectivity and technicality, objectivity, right? Like there's objectivity ties to the technical pieces of making music, and subjectivity ties to your individual taste, and not your individual taste doesn't always belong in somebody's work.
Right. And you have to basically the long and short of it is learn how to balance what you're taking and what to do with it. You are the foundation for everything, but you do have to kind of see what you have to test the waters, understand what's going on around you, whether it's subjective or objective, because subjectively, it can probably show you, kind of if you're hitting your mark or if you're not hitting your mark. If there's something you want the everyman to feel, then you need a subjective opinion. But if there's something technical or somewhere you want to grow, or you want to figure out, okay, I've been putting these videos out, I've been putting these songs out, I'm getting no traction. Constructive criticism can lead you to be like, I mean, there was nothing wrong with your video, your title sucks.
Yeah, but just saying something sucks is not helpful.
No.
Right? And that's where I've got really upset with like some shit that goes down in the comment section sometimes. It's like somebody would just be like, this sucks. And or this sucks because it's not like doing something for me. And I'm just like, I'm not doing something just for you. You jackass. Like this it's not no. And I think me responding to that type of energy, I've been told that like I shouldn't even like play into it.
No, because they would just want, because a lot of the times those people just want the attention.
I shouldn't play in it. I shouldn't. What? I shouldn't go back and forth with these individuals because they don't deserve the time. But the reality is that like if they want the smoke, like maybe sometimes I'm in the mood to give them that.
Yeah, because most people are just, like I said, looking for that attention. And so, and maybe you're doing a service at that point because they're like, ooh, I've been noticed. Because I know that there are people who, after you say something, oh, no, I didn't, sorry, bro.
Yeah, I think the issue is that sometimes I don't want to do the ads, by the way.
You don't?
No, not today. But sometimes people, I take that back, I will. But sometimes people, we did really well last month. That's why. Sometimes people will say things to offer their opinion and not expect there to be like a reaction to it. Like they say something without, they don't expect consequences, and that's one of my pet peeves is like, don't do some shit and don't expect consequences, my dude.
Oh, also in the last part of constructive criticism, whether you're giving it or taking it, understand that when you're giving it, your opinion is not fact. It's just an opinion.
Yeah.
And so often we get those lines mixed up because our perspective can be so one-sided and singular to ourselves. You know, whether it's, you know, your interactions with somebody, right? Doesn't necessarily mean you're always right in that regard. It's just your current personal experience, unless you've polled everybody in the world that this person has ever interacted with. But most of us don't do that. So, yeah. Keep that in mind. Try and get good constructive criticism for your art so that way you can continue growing.
Word. This episode is sponsored by DistroKid. If you're a musician who would love to distribute your music to Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, and more, upload unlimited music for only $19.99 per year. If this is your first time using DistroKid, get 7% off of your subscription. We use DistroKid to manage all of our artists here at On The Map Music Group and split payments between our collaborators. Click the link down in the description and sign up today.
All right, guys. You know what time it is. Not kidding, bros. It's time to guess whether or not Wordplay TJ can guess these anime plots. Let's do this.
The song always gives me.
Time to guess whether or not Wordplay TJ can guess these anime plots. He gets one image to make it drop. I give him a sound if he gets it right or not. That's how the game works. That's how the game works. Start the song. That's how the game works.
Yeah. I think there needs to be a little bit of explanation. That's
how the game works.
If that's not clear.
That's how the game works.
What? What?
Okay, quickly. So if you didn't catch it, or the end explanation, I give him an image. He has to guess what the anime is about. Or I give him an image, tell him the name. He has to guess what the image is about. Tell me the plot of the anime. If he gets it right, he gets a...
Yeah, right.
If he gets it wrong, I just tell him he's wrong. Because, the other sounds, bleh.
Uh-huh.
The other sounds are bleh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
See, that was my Pusha T. So today
We're never going to get this right.
So today, when I was playing the song, I just went straight into it. But it's too long because anyway, I don't know how to do stuff short. So this week we have my... What? Whoa. I heard it.
Huh?
Listen, today we have my dress up darling.
Let's go into describing this. So right now we have Earl in a robe. He's on the right hand side here.
Earl?
Man, leave me alone. Earl's. Did I mention Earl's wearing a robe?
You did.
And then you have big Maid. Next to Earl. Seemingly Earl is holding her purse. Could be his bag, but I don't know. And then they're at a train station, it looks, so they're traveling somewhere. Earl is the servant here. And maid lady is the mistress. Say she's the sugar mama in this situation. And so Earl has to do her bidding. And she is the dress-up doll, so to speak. That's all I got.
Okay, so for the end of that,
Yeah, right.
the very end, but for everything before.
Yeah.
So my dress-up darling is about Gojo Wakana and Gojo. His name is actually Gojo. Wakana is probably his actual name, but anyway.
Wakanda?
Wakana.
Wakanda.
Basically, Wakanda, no D.
Wakanda.
Why did you put the D back?
Whoa.
What?
That's what she said.
All right, good setup. Yeah, but so Gojo and Kitagawa Marin and Gojo. I don't know why I always give the full names. I could just do that on my channel, which I'll be doing this Monday. Anyway,
Yeah.
it'll be the video's up. Go look at it.
Yeah. The explainy over there.
Yeah, but so
Explanatory.
the long and short of it is Gojo makes Hina dolls, and so he meets Marin, who is a gal, and again,
What's a gal?
a gal is in Japan. They basically tan, dye their hair, and are more assertive / aggressive. It also originated from. It
So-
was kind of a. At some point in time, it has been a kind of blackface thing.
Yeah, it sounds pretty racist. just the short of it. They want to be black women.
Just yeah. Let's dodge a bullet here. Anyway, the biggest thing.
Everybody listening won't catch that.
No, he just did the Matrix roll.
The bullet
Time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the big thing about her is she's a cosplayer. And so she's currently cosplaying as a character from a very erogenous game. Yeah. So
The mistress. So I got that part.
it's way worse than that, but I'm gonna move on. But Gojo, since he makes these Hina dolls, he does not interact with people. He does not have any friends, and he's really good at making clothes. So he ends up making that outfit and everything
He ain't
for
got
her.
no friends because he wearing bathrobes everywhere.
That's
Like a
his
creep.
traditional garb for working on the dolls and stuff, and they form a friendship, which is really, really cool.
Traditional pervy.
No, the thing that's different about him from most anime characters that I enjoyed about this is he's not the typical, stereotypical person would just be super duper pervy, and that's not this, which is why it's one of the current top series is going on right now. But yeah, you got the end right when you were like, but she's the dress up girl, and I was like,
I'm just joking.
girl. But it's really good. It's really fun.
Oh man,
That was
nasty.
whoa, coffee burps.
I don't know what that was.
But yeah, so that's the anime plot for this week. Check out Gray Area Anime and my channel to get more on this if you're interested.
Yeah, don't do that.
Rude.
I'm just joking.
Last topic. So our big societal topic for the day that we're going to get in and get out on is generational disconnects between generations, which is funny because we just got done talking about Generation 1 Pokemon, but there's even some good keynotes there.
So basically, ageism
Ageism, basically, yeah.
and old people be wrong. I'm just joking.
Old people be stubborn, but even in your joke, it still is more right than it's wrong. So what I wanted to do,
Could we be considered stubborn old people at this point?
in a lot of ways, sometimes we are, but I also think that you and I try to do things way more progressively.
Not we, but age group,
Oh, age group for sure.
general.
For sure. Like, you do realize that kids are like, you were born in the 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
And they put us way early in the 1900s.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care.
Like, no. We don't care. Well, you don't care. I get a little. Listen, I will kick your kid
Jesus.
through a field goal post.
Punt.
But I won't. But the funny thing about generational disconnects
Punting
is that
kids.
I think we lose the art of legacy building in terms of having conversations about different things and passing things down. We got a lot more of generational connects, whether it's with music, traditional senses of how to go about building a future and things of that nature. But we also grew up in a generation that wanted to break certain traditions, whether it's racism in a certain way. Like, not to say that the generation before us didn't try, because obviously segregation happened. But I think that there was a what is it? A lulling or something that kind of happened in our generation.
Low.
Well, we had an
Laugh out
expectation. Sure.
Low.
Or dulling, I think is better. Because we kind of expected certain things to be way more progressive than what they were. Especially given, I think, what we learned when Obama was in office versus like the first year he wasn't. And generational disconnects, to make this way more simplified, instead of using all these examples, we have to pass down information so that we're not so in love with the tradition of things, we understand why. There's things that happen like in churches that like people glorify a tradition over this was not something to be glorified. And I think that it would help us become better people, because bridging the gap between generations is something I know you do very well as a teacher.
No.
You do. Like,
No.
like there are things that I've seen you do with them in terms of like, you don't put up barriers of age, right? We have an episode, I think early in the beginning, where
Oh, I come in there and I say, I could be your uncle. No, it's kidding.
or not an episode, but you and I have had conversations where you were able to explain identity and the current age identity and what all of those things mean.
Yeah, I identify with what my students are going through at
Yeah.
a current at the current juncture, and what progression they want. Right, I do understand that.
But it's not there's no disconnect between like the generation before us. It's just like, no, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody, but there's so many times where
There's an immediate rejection.
yes, where because there's a traditional sense of things that go on. We are very worst case scenario and very tunnel vision to the things that we grew up on. My best example is parents who
Just don't understand.
want better for their kids, right? I don't want my kid to go through what I went through. And the problem that they end up having for them is that they're like, well, now they don't understand this responsibility or that responsibility. And it's like, is the responsibility tied to the struggle, or is it tied to lessons that can still be taught? And in a lot of ways, it's always, to me, going to be lessons that can still be taught. You just have to figure out a different presentation that isn't struggling and only having one meal or, whatever it is. You build that up through chores, or you build it up through lemonade stands.
Or woofins.
Or, well,
I'm just joking.
But that's another progressive thing.
But that's your choice, right? Like, so
right.
Discipline, how you discipline your kid is your choice.
And that's another, discipline thing versus like understanding the differences between what we went through and our ability to understand, given the context of tradition and what was going on around us, versus also understanding now that there were other ways that could have been done while not condemning parents for it.
Right.
Or condemning everyone for it. And I think those bridging the gap aspects of what it is that a lot of people criticize currently about, like, whoopings, right, is there is a negative connotation to the fact that you do not have to beat someone for them to understand a lesson.
Yeah, I think people jump to a beating.
Yes.
Immediately.
And a lot of the time it's like, while, and we make fun, and black people have made fun of this for years in terms of, oh, no, we don't do no talking. Ain't no talking to, because talking to you makes you seem like you're a person who is able to, quote unquote, make decisions. And they are. Whether or not, the respecting of authority is something that I think was drilled into us in different ways. And we miss a lot of the important parts. And I want more people to be aware of the fact that you have to kind of approach these things from a pass your knowledge on. It continues to grow.
Get some help.
Well, that too. But it continues to grow society if we're passing our knowledge on. We already know, if you play the telephone game, you know how information can go from one person to another and begin to lose its original form.
Oh my gosh. Every time it fails. Every time there's a breakdown in communication somewhere. And the more people it gets filtered through, the worse it gets.
And the issue is that's where we end up with our disconnects. Is if you're not passing things down in different ways and learning the different methods for passing things down, because the reason the telephone game fails, how we hear and interpret things to each person is different. If you're not understanding of that, then you'll just let a disconnect happen, and that person, you make that person feel worse by trying to, well, why don't you get it? Why are you different? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I'm just different, and so you have to approach this different.
Okay, so here's a question, right? And
any of this makes sense.
I feel like we're walking around it, mm-hmm. and we're not getting it. So what is, let's say, Generation X? What are our parents? What do they not understand about us?
That
millennials.
That a lot of the things we were wanting to do were not wrong. So I'll use this example. You and I are creatives. In terms of the jobs that we chose were creative things that we wanted to pursue. Others of our generation would be like, or not our generation, of the generation before us, our parents' age or whatever, would have been like, that don't bring in no money. Why you want to do that? Go and get a reasonable job. And it's the foresight of the fact that, well, this is a reasonable job. I am, there are other parts of it that, do not end up with immediate success, but the work ethic and level that I have to go through to get these things are the same kind of things that I would be doing at a 9 to 5. It doesn't.
Well, I also think it comes with a quality of life perception.
Yes.
So
that's
the quality of life perception is go and get a real job so you can get the house, the car, the kids, the things.
Yes.
And what people don't realize is that because of our American concept of the American dream, it loads you up with American debt as well. And it costs something to maintain the house, the car, the kids, the spouse. And the reality is that you could honestly do what you, in a lot of ways, you could do what you would like to do if you're willing to minimize some of those expectations. It's just the fact that most people grow up conditioned to want the American dream. And so therefore, because we're conditioned to want that, ergo the parents' expectation or Generation X expectation on millennials is that you're going to need to make X amount of dollars in order to get the American dream. Right. And then you can't get the American dream if you're just an artist.
No. And I think that was a generational disconnect of something that I wanted to bring together, because there are a lot of ways that you can support the creative aspects of a creative, especially now. You have
most of our Generation X parents couldn't even like getting into the internet.
Oh,
like,
bruh.
How would they know?
They didn't understand a lot of those things. And so the other aspect of it is there's also false representation on the other side of things. So I saw this post the other day that rent places expect 3 times the rent, but jobs aren't expected to pay 3 times the money so you can afford rent.
Yeah.
And with
so there's
that,
a gap between wages and there's a gap between expenses. Right?
And then
so
there's a gap between what education gets you.
Yeah, inflation continues to happen, but wages aren't keeping up with that.
No, and they don't. And that's not something that's explained to us. It's not explained to us that a degree does not guarantee you a job, because that job is expecting experience that you can only get from the job that they don't want to give you with the degree you got to get the job.
Right.
So,
then the debt that comes from the degree. Right. So I think none of these things were explained before we got into real life.
No.
And the generational disconnect is just saying, just go do it. And
it'll work out.
and there is no guidance. There's no teaching of just go do it. That doesn't mean much.
The biggest thing that I think happens, though, that I want to point out, and we can end on that, is parents also forget the fact that we have eyes and that we see things. Every generation under us sees things. So currently, the generation under us is watching how we move. And what they see is they see all the negatives in the things that we're doing. Like, they might see some positives too, but they might see, the difficulties in protesting, or the difficulties in starting a YouTube, the difficulties in all of these different things that are going on around you, right? We don't give them the credence to understand that. Like, we saw our parents in so many different ways exhausted and tired from doing this thing that you're now telling me to do. And my perception of it is like, I don't want you in that position. Why would I want to grow up to that position?
I don't know what that means.
So if you see your parents struggling when they come home from work, like, why would I want to go and get a job to look like that? Why would I want to go in and get a job and do the things that you're telling me to do if, like, you're not even smiling, or if you're not even, and that's a matter of sacrifice, understandably so. But is that the environment that I'm why do I want that environment?
But I think we're talking about work-life balance and some of those things, right? Like,
Yeah.
what I would say is that nobody ever talks about the fact that life is a struggle guaranteed.
Yeah.
And there's a level of acceptance of that.
Yeah.
And I think Eastern cultures understand this, but Western cultures don't talk much about it. We sometimes have this fantasy that, like, not everything's gonna be sunshine and roses, but
Right.
like there's some way to avoid struggle, and that's not true.
Well, I'm sorry if it came out that way, but I'm just saying simply that we see that. You know, like people are seeing this, and then there's a disconnect because it's like you do want to create better environments. You do want to create payable wages or whatever the case may be. And just because you're telling me to do something does not mean I don't see the things that are going on around it as well. You know, like I've seen, it doesn't matter. But, you know, all in all, I think that having conversations that have yet to be had, whether it's talking more about working your finances, understanding taxes, understanding that we should be working towards not getting tax refunds and other things, because like you were saying, we work from the American dream is working from a place of debt.
Yeah, I think that if people, kind of like what Gary Vee says, if people get content with like eating shit for X amount of years, so to speak, and that's not like, basically, like if you're okay with minimalizing and working out your hustle for some period of time, like there are ways to make it work if you're good, right? Like that is also a part of the equation, right? You have to be good plus, well, times time, right? Patience and and then on top,
consistency,
right? Yeah, and then I think if you kind of divide that all by what you're willing to minimize, right? That's going to equate to your output, right? Like,
right.
So what I had to learn, an example is what I had to learn about finances, right? So before I met my wife, my goal was to get rid of as much expense as I could. Therefore, like I could literally save 70% of my income, if not more.
Right.
And that meant that, like, no, I wasn't going to eat out. No, I didn't have a TV. No, I had internet. Yes, I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. And I got that 1-bedroom apartment through like federal housing, right? So like it's like I chose to, before I met her, I chose to minimize all of my expenses, live in a place that wasn't like ideal as far as like people would want to live in. Mm-hmm. And I just put my head down and I was just like, let's work. Even if this is for like 10 years, let's just put my head down and go there.
A question to that is that something that you innovated from what you saw from the last generation and brought forward, or is that something you said within yourself that you just wanted to do?
No, I chose that. Because like it didn't come from the previous generation. Mm-hmm. I chose that because I was tired of being broke. And I was also tired of not like achieving what I wanted to achieve. Mm-hmm. And there comes a point in time, especially with like finances, mm-hmm. where you get tired of like living paycheck to paycheck. And then you're just like, all right. So most people's financial problems is based off of their spending. So if you don't have spending, you can have some savings, right? You see what I'm saying? So like you start to I broke down everything that I spent, looked at my bank account, and I just said, like, okay, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. And once I started cutting, which is the basis of minimalism, right? Cutting things out. That's when I was able to save, and that saving leads towards me investing more into my company and my business than, and I still use those habits to today. Like, I still have a Excel spreadsheet where I know exactly how much of my check I'm going to have left over and what percentage that is.
I think that helps in a lot of different ways. And I do still think that it's something from, I think it's not just a Gary Vee thing, but also the willingness to seek out information outside of yourself to actually learn what it is that you want, actualize it in a way that is present and others can grow and learn from. Because no matter whether it's Gary Vee or I can't think of the other guy off the top of my head, doesn't matter, whatever name, they while the methods are the same, the reasons are different. Yeah.
But I think, like I said before, it comes with an acceptance of struggle.
Yeah.
And the generational disconnect is that us younger folks don't believe that we should struggle. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that most of the time, if we're looking for a happy life, the best way to get to a happy life is to lower your expectations in general, which means that there will be a little bit of struggle. It's a ikigai type of situation, right? Ikigai being that thing from Japanese culture. Like, what are you good at? What do people want? What will pay you? And what are you? I forget the fourth one, but I always forget the fourth one. But it has those four. It has four components where it's just like when they overlap. When they overlap, you should find your space right there, smack dab in the middle, and it's going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be the thing that you want the most, but it is going to be like it'll hit all of those components, a piece of every component that you need.
But I also think the other part about even connecting further is also understanding that struggle does not mean you're going without.
Yeah.
In that sense, like, because minimalization means I'm taking something away, yes, but if your without is only constructed by I have to be able to go to McDonald's 5 times a week, I have to be able to watch a million different things or whatever it is, like if you make a luxury a need, then you really don't that's more so what I think is like the struggle, because struggle for anybody is different.
And struggle isn't negative, right? Like that's not where I'm coming from, right?
No. But people will, but that's what I was going to say is most people, just to clarify, will presume when you're saying like life is struggle, will hear the negative connotation if you don't explain it a bit further. But go ahead with the 4 things.
Yeah, the 4 components are what you love to do, what the world needs, what you're good at, and what you can get paid for. So somewhere in the middle is your ikigai, and that's what you should focus on.
Yeah. So anyway, life is a struggle.
Let's close this out. I don't think we should do overtime.
No, that was my
we basically are in overtime.
Basically. But yeah, life is a struggle. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Hopefully this podcast episode wasn't a struggle for you. Hit that survey.
It is for me right now because I got pee. Thank you for listening and watching. I appreciate you.
Make sure you like, comment,
enjoying
and
this.
Subscribe. And we'll see you guys in the next one. A 1 and a 2 and a
gotta go
blah.